not going in my house without a warrant.
Good
And that
evening.
presented the situation that we had.
6:19
All right.
p.m. Eastern
Now,
Standard Time.
let's look at this issue. Can a family court
The
judge
DUI guy.
Right, and violate your Fourth Amendment right.
Is a warrant required? And it seemed that nobody knew the answer to this. But, it seemed obvious to me.
Right, right. So now let's fast forward.
This is the case where the judge came to this guy's house
different jurisdictions use different words to
to out of the bench, not in the row, no warrant, violate this people's First Amendment rights,
So I was never,
and all of it.
never his lawyer in the family
This
court
is
proceeding.
live on DUI guy.
Did he get his recusal? I guess is my only question. I think the audience is curious about.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually,
once I put the video on YouTube,
the rest is history.
And that is the important thing about YouTube.
Transparency.
It really is, because usually you are completely powerless against a judge, or especially a family court judge who has ultimate discretion. You don't have juries.
I do not own
You
the
just
rights
have
to
this
this
judge
video.
who can do whatever they want. So only YouTube was able to get justice here, because
Bring light to the
as the
situation.
public saw this, the public was universally outraged. And again, generally what I do is sue over police misconduct.
Right, that's the most common. Jail, like when they do, those jail workers, the deputies at the jail, sometimes the deputies at the courthouse, but usually cops on the street is the most common. That in jails.
And that can be very divisive. Like everybody's got a position on one side or the other. Like they either have like the thin blue line position, or they have the other position. Like it's a very, very divisive issue. And this, not so much. This is maybe the one case I've ever had where like 99.99% of the population, like only excluding family court judges around the country, and not even all of them, everybody kind of was on our side on this case. Like everybody did not like this. Mm-hmm. And so it was in that sense, it was like the easiest case I've ever had. But legally speaking, it was the most difficult case because judges have absolute immunity. Mm-hmm. But as far as the public's perception of it, like everybody was against this. Everybody was upset with what they saw. And it was exposing what happened. If it wasn't on video, nothing ever would have happened here. It's only because it was caught on video, and only because then it was immediately put on YouTube and then the TV news, and people saw it. That is what basically got results here. And it did get results. It really couldn't have gone any better.
Good.
It was a long ordeal, though.
So you get this order, which I had on the screen a minute ago. Let me put it back. You get this order eventually. Let's fast forward in time to, this is what, 2023 September. So just not that long ago, like 5-6 months ago, it was argued. Did you have what's it called, oral argument? Yeah. We had oral arguments at the Fourth Circuit in Richmond, Virginia, and that was handled actually by the Institute for Justice. Okay. That's another organization that I've been looking at. I haven't contacted them yet, and what the hells may be. We may require their assistance for the what the hells is situation. Jeremy and George. So it's decided October 30th. And we'll talk about that more behind the scenes, John. The whole Institute for Justice, because that's one. Or they're like I like to call them the ACLU of the First Amendment. Is that an accurate description?
Absolutely. I have a donation. In every YouTube video I publish, I have a donation link for the Institute for Justice, and they were kind enough to give me my own custom donation link so that every once in a while, like they could track and tell me like how much in donations like my audience from YouTube has donated. Nice. Because I really believe in their mission. And this case shows exactly why. And
As you know, the Institute for Justice helped homeowners in the city of Charleston over 5 years ago because of what Boss Hogg, the mayor, did. You know, Institute for Justice is very good. You know, I guess maybe they might have a YouTube channel. You can look that up. But, you know, that's something, I forgot about the Institute for Justice. The only one that got screwed over that case of the landlords, the city of Charlestown, the homeowners, is the renters. They didn't get crap. And since we wasn't homeowners or landlords, we couldn't get them. I don't think it's fair.
Judicial disciplinary prosecution comes to an end and basically hammers the judge. It hammers the judge and says that you violated the Constitution, the state Constitution, you violated the federal Constitution, you did all these bad things. Nice. And then ultimately, like, it didn't remove her from the bench or anything. The ultimate punishment was, it was like a $5,000 fine. And essentially what the judge had agreed to, you know, at some point before she, you know, tried to back out. But we got the Supreme Court order saying that everything that she did was bad, but most importantly, it had no basis under West Virginia law. Like the family law bar and other family law judges had been arguing. There was no doubt anymore once the West Virginia Supreme Court, you know, put out that order. Nobody could say that this was allowed under West Virginia laws. It very clearly was not. And that helped me in the civil lawsuit. I was just by myself at that time. And I worked the case all the way up to jury trial. So I took depositions of the judge, of her bailiff, of the other sheriff's deputy who showed up at the scene, who also had been her longtime bailiff, and did all the dispositive motions. So they filed their motion for summary judgment, asserting absolute judicial immunity, briefed that. And that was a real threat that we were going to get dismissed on the.
I remember that case watching this Constitution lawyer. His name's John something. You know who he is. So let's listen to more people.
On judicial immunity, and there's not a lot out there. So the trial judge, the U.S. District Court judge, like a week before jury trial. So we had all the jury instructions prepared. We had done all the motions in limine and everything. So we were set for trial. And then the judge finally ruled at the trial court level on judicial immunity. And it was it was a great opinion. He denied the judge judicial immunity.
Nice.
And ordered that we were moving forward to jury trial, in just days.
Is this the order that I'm looking at, or is it something else?
That is the order that came after this one was appealed. So the trial court,
so they appealed it. They appealed his decision, and it was affirmed at the higher court right here.
Right, and because it's an immunity, just like qualified immunity.
Remember,
judicial immunity,
not on the
they have the right to an interlocutory appeal, which, as you know, means that they get to appeal before the trial even. So usually a defendant in a civil lawsuit would have to go through with the trial, see what happens, and then they can appeal, just like Trump, right? They have to go through the trial, then they can post the bond, then they get to appeal. Well, not the government. When the government gets deprived of qualified immunity or judicial immunity, they get to appeal before the trial. So we had to put the trial on hold, and they got to appeal to the Fourth Circuit. That's what they did. But it had gotten enough attention at that point because it was so unusual that it got the attention of the
5-star phone service next to half-price phone bill? It's possible with Telemobile's supercharged phone plans.
Excited because it fit in with what their fight is, and they're fighting against all these judicial immunities and qualified immunities, government immunities, essentially. And they took over the appellate work, which was fantastic because they're like top notch. That's what they do, like the best in the country. and they wrote the brief, and Patrick Giacomo did the oral arguments. I was sitting right behind him watching him.
I'm sure that was an experience.
Yeah, it was great. And it was only a few months ago, or 6 months ago now.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that it's been this recent. So
Yeah.
so after they argue this an oral argument, this decision comes down October 30th, barely Halloween, or right the day before Halloween. And they make this decision. They affirm that judicial immunity is lifted off of Judge Goldston, and because she stepped outside of her judicial role and she was not acting in the capacity of the judge. So let me fill you in on our protagonist, antagonist. I mean, at this point, he has so many different names. He's got Grudge Judge. He's got, Judge DeBiases. He's got Judge, I hate Mark Feather. Brr, Mark Feather. You're not going to get that reference because John, by the way, for the record, don't please do not, be like, oh, you need to watch this. John, like me, is a full-time attorney, okay? YouTube is, please stop me if I'm wrong, John, at any point. I don't want to put words in your mouth. John is a full-time attorney. He litigates 1983 actions against police officers and sometimes judges, apparently. And YouTube is kind of like an extra exposure, extra income / hobby. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's
supposed to be. But it's another way to get the word out there, and the reason you've garnered such a following, which, by the way, congratulations on that, because I literally watched you kind of do this, and then all of a sudden you were like, whoop, and I was like, what the hell happened here? Because John is all about transparency of the police, the court system, judicial behavior, officer behavior, prosecutorial behavior, just like me. I do very, very similar things. Only John does it in the capacity of suing police officers for their misdeeds. I usually represent them in criminal court. We win the case, get the case dismissed, whatever. And then I would pass the case over to John and be like, okay, John, now you take over. Now you sue the government, sue their fucking pants off, rip their balls off, and make money off of them. Right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's the idea. So why did I want to talk to John about this case? Because this case, that's it. It's over. October 30th, it was decided. It was reset for jury trial. And I don't think you talked about this yet, John, but I'm just going to fill the audience in. The case is now settled, right? A couple weeks before trial, John settled this case. And he got, am I allowed to reveal the number to our public?
Yeah, it's already been out there.
It's already been out there. John got his client a whopping $200,000. $200,000 for the judge violating another person's Fourth Amendment rights. And just let me take a second, John. Please bask in the glory. I'm going to give you a clap for that because that is outstanding fucking work. Outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, people will say, well, it should be $200 million, but, you know better.
You can only get so much, okay? Like, we're not
Right.
suing a pharmaceutical company for killing a bunch of people. That would be in the millions. So, still, fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal result. Now, Judge DeThomasis. So, for those of you just joining us for the What the Hell's portion of this video, basically, if you have not been following, we have a very interesting scenario. And John, I'm going to fill you and the chat in a moment, and I just want to hear your thoughts because I know you have not had the chance to really follow this case because you're a full-time attorney. And again, nobody's faulting you for that. If anybody gives you shit, please let me know, and I will punch them in the face. Okay. Kevin Cotter says, has John been following the Hales case? So that's the answer, Kevin. Not yet. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He's got other things on his plate. The reason I brought him in is this, okay? You ready? Judge DeThomasis in Levy County, Florida, had a petition for injunction petition/injunction for stalking against a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Hales. It is a classic pot calling the kettle black scenario. John and his wife, Jeremy and his wife, George. She goes by George to protect her identity. It's her middle name. She's Egyptian, so they use the middle name is like the father, it gets passed down. So Jeremy and George moved to Levy County, Florida, because they're treasure hunters. That's all they want. They want to look for treasure, and they have an enormous following. Almost, they may have already crossed 700,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's their passion. This is what they do. This is what they want. This is what they like. And they moved, and no good deed goes unpunished because they're philanthropists. They teach people how to be entrepreneurs, how to buy storage units and sell them, make money that way, rent them out. They do a whole bunch of philanthropic, giving money to organizations they believe in things. Well, there are two individuals by the name of Lynette and John. Lynette Preston, she also goes by Michelle. So Lynette Michelle Preston and John Cook. They have a lot of nicknames. They have a lot of I think she has 39 different names. She's a former stripper, but none of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is they move and they stalk Jeremy and George. They purchase a property a year after Jeremy and George moved to the area, across the fucking street, John. Across the street from this couple, and all they want is give me money. They start this bullshit turtle rescue, which apparently they have tortoises dying on the premises. She has a 4-year-old daughter, when was the last time you heard a 4-year-old still in diapers, John? It's almost it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what is happening in Levy County, Florida. And so Jeremy and George, they try to seek a protective order against this woman and John, but primarily her. And they go to Ohio, and I believe they get an order against both of them because Ohio looks at it and goes, holy shit, granted. And Florida refuses to accept it. Florida says, no, we're not granting you an injunction. But Lynette, the brilliant woman that she is, decides to run to the courthouse and say, you know what? I want an injunction against him. And so a hearing is scheduled. She files it September 7th. So right around the time when you are getting ready to get this order on your case, right, 400, 500 miles away, down south, you have this rogue judge, Judge DeThomasis. His full name is Craig Constantine DeThomasis. This judge takes this petition, and the first one is 50 pages on September 7th. He schedules a hearing. The first hearing is held, and here's where it begins. This is where we want your input, John. This judge, and we're not going to watch the hearing. It is very long. I know Megan Fox, writer, she was doing a watch party, and I kind of was able to join in. I was driving, so my internet was going in and out. But I was able to join for parts of it, and I finally heard with my own ears how Judge DeThomasis is acting. First of all, Lynette is unrepresented at this juncture. Okay, in September, October of 2023, she is pro se, meaning representing herself. For those of you who don't know in the chat, so she is pro se, and Jeremy is represented. He's got Mr. Mark Feather. Mark Feather. So Mark Feather is representing Jeremy. She's unrepresented. She's the petitioner. He's the respondent. Judge DeThomasis literally sits there, listens to her evidence, periodically, filling in some gaps. She interrupts the judge constantly, and he just lets her talk over him. He doesn't try to silence her like, ma'am, you need to obey the court. You need to listen. None of that. Just complete and utter rogueness, if you will. And he's giving her carte blanche to speak over him, interrupt him. At some moment, I remember I said, Megan, who's the judge in this courtroom? Because it feels like Lynette is literally the judge of her own case. And DeThomasis is kind of like the arbiter. He's going to decide yes, I agree with you. Jeremy hasn't had a chance to speak yet. And by the way, Jeremy hasn't had a chance to speak yet to this day. And we're not going to get to that because it gets very complicated. If you all want to hear more about it, it's in it's not in the description, but it's in my playlists. If you want to find all the videos related to this situation. But with respect to judicial immunity, absolute immunity for judges, John, this is the question, okay? Then this is what I've been grappling with. And when I saw your case, when I saw your victory, I was like, you know what? maybe not all hope is lost, because I always admit when I'm wrong. In my previous video, somebody asked me, can Judge the Thomases be sued in any way, shape, or form, capacity, or whatever? And I was like, no, I don't think so. It looks like absolute immunity absolutely shields him. He is absolutely protected. He's got his armor, and piercing it is pretty much impossible short of him performing non-judicial acts. Oh. Enter John Bryan. Non-judicial acts. This is what I missed, because there is no precedent. As you literally heard previously, this is straight from the horse's mouth. The man, the myth, the legend himself who helped litigate this case. I won't give you all the credit, because Institute for Justice was obviously all over it. But the key is you've penetrated, you've pierced the judicial immunity, the absolute immunity veil. We finally learned that absolute does not always mean absolute. I always like to joke, would you like a cookie? Absolutely, I would like a cookie. No one is going to come to you and say, are you sure? I'm not so certain that you really want a cookie. It makes no sense. Absolutely means absolutely, but not in the law, not in the legal sense. Sometimes absolute means yes, but yes, it's absolute, except there's some exceptions. And in
two good lawyers, there's his name. He also got his own YouTube channel. I got a feeling he's going to end up helping what the hell. I just got this feeling, people.
To be of assistance to Jeremy and George, because this is going to be a brand new case. First of all, he's got the case where he's the respondent. Lynette is trying to get the petition against him. He may have a defamation case, because Lynette has actually called herself out in one of her petitions. If you've not seen yesterday's video, you have to check it out. She actually took a photocopy of what she was calling Jeremy, and it's heinous. And she admitted to it, like, yes, this is my handwriting. This is my post. This is my thing. I'm like, you're a moron. You're a complete monkey. And I think DJ Radis even made a song out of it, because it's bonkers. It's bonkers. And so now you have this judge who is acting in both the capacity of a judge and a litigator. He is both representing, it's like a veiled representing of a petitioner in a stalking case petition. And he's acting as a judge. So in your opinion, again, I know you haven't seen the video, and I'm not going to ask you to, and obviously I didn't prepare you for this, but because you have this experience of getting a judge's absolute immunity removed, is it possible, based on the case law that you have researched in your own case, when a judge steps into the shoes of an attorney for the petitioner? Again, this is unprecedented ground. There is no precedent. There are no cases that I can think of that exist on this particular issue. We now have the Goldston situation, but is it possible to sue now? The Gibson versus Goldston, now as stare decisis, which is a Latin term for previous cases that we can look to. What do you think, John? Does Jeremy have something here potential?
Well, it's funny that this is happening in Levy County, Florida. I don't know if you know this, but I'm from Florida. I grew up in Florida.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Melbourne, Florida. It's on the other side of the state. But I halfway grew up in a small county up in northwest Florida called Levy County. And sort of my family farm is in Levy County. That's where my family's from, is that area. And so,
wow, small world.
My brother still lives there on sort of our family ranch. We own property all over in Levy County. I've been to Otter Creek. I know exactly where it is. And Levy County is a tiny place in Florida. Wow. I mean, it's not. People don't have any idea Florida's like that. They think Florida on the coast, popular, but Levy County, Florida is very much like the rural counties near where I live now in West Virginia. Around 40,000 people or something in the county. I mean, very, very small county for Florida. And my family goes back there. My family has lived in that area since like the 1850s, 1840s. So of all the places where this is happening, Levy County, like half of my life I grew up there, so I'm very familiar with Levy County. In fact, the only trouble I've ever been in my life was for allegedly killing an alligator in Levy County when I was in college. You know, when everyone else was on spring break down in the Keys getting DUIs and getting into trouble, I was staying out of trouble with my girlfriend and friends up in Levy County, and we end up getting in trouble up there for allegedly killing an alligator. That's the only legal trouble I've ever been in my life, was in Levy County, Florida. So it's funny that of all the places where this happens is where I've lived kind of half my life there, and I love Levy County. But so that being said, I don't know this judge. You know, I don't know Levy County anymore to that extent. I don't have any connection with this judge. I don't know anything about the judge or any of the parties involved. But based on what you told me, I mean, the other thing I'll say about Florida, I mean, is Florida, there's so much red tape, right? So I see some of this has to do with like water meters and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons I moved to West Virginia. I love West Virginia. Is Florida is, no matter what they claim, despite what they claim, Florida is a big government state. It's a police state. There are politicians everywhere. There are cops everywhere. Go try to speed in Florida. That's why I do what I do, because I learned to dislike the government from an early age, because I saw my law-abiding parents even getting abused by police officers. There are so many cops in Florida because there's wealthy old people, and old people are afraid of their shadow. They're afraid of everything. So that's why there's so many cops in Florida. Like, everything is illegal. There's cops everywhere. Like, you can't speed. They have nothing else to do other than set up these speed traps all over the place. There's cops everywhere in Florida, Levy County included. So if you have 40,000 people in that county and 40,000 people in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, like we might have 12 cops on duty in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, and they probably have 1,200 in Levy County total. I mean, big government is a big thing in Florida. Everything's illegal. There's government everywhere. So that's kind of what's underneath, all this. I know without even knowing the particular facts. Okay, Florida has had it down for a long time on how to harass people, and you think you can just move down there and live your life and be free. Well, you can't. That's why West Virginia is so great. That's why people from Florida move to West Virginia, because you can come up here, you don't have to worry about even building codes and all this crap. Go to Florida, you got to pay every kind of fee there is. You got to follow every kind of code there is. And if the government wants to harass you, they're going to harass you. So I can see stuff like this happening. All right. So that being said, I've got a lot of phone calls in the past several years on a judge did this to me or a judge did that to me. Can I sue the judge? I don't know how many phone calls I've had, how many emails I've had. The two basic ways, if you want to sue a judge, there are really only two scenarios, only two like teeny tiny ways that you could possibly theoretically do it. One is if a judge is acting entirely without any jurisdiction at all. So Judge, is it Thomasis?
Thomasis.
So I don't even have a case pending before Judge Thomasis, but he walks up to me on the sidewalk and spits in my face, okay? Mm-hmm. And I sue Judge Thomasis.
That's the example that I gave in my immunity video.
Does he get it? No, because I don't have a case pending before him. It has nothing to do with him being a judge. It has nothing to do with his job as a judge at all. So that's an easy scenario. The other way, and the more common way, and the way that we had to litigate in this case is, like, all right, the judge does have some jurisdiction over this individual, over the plaintiff, but the judge stepped outside the capacity of a judge and stepped into some other capacity. So in the Goldston case, that would be the judge stepped off the bench and then stepped into the shoes basically of a police officer, of an investigator. And that's how we were able to establish liability in that case, is because the judge walked straight out of the judicial branch and tried to join the executive branch. So, while a judge can issue an order directing that the executive branch go search something, even in a family law case, the judicial branch cannot go issue that order and then do it itself, or just do it itself without issuing an order. And that was the difference here. It had the judge directed law enforcement to go search my client's house to see if certain DVDs were there or family photos were there, then we never would have been there. We never would have been here. It's because the judge showed up personally and not only participated in the search, but directed the search herself, like on the scene. Mm-hmm. So if somebody wants to get past judicial immunity, you have to fit into that sort of a fact pattern. So I guess I would ask you is, and part of the disciplinary case against Judge Golston did find that she was basically acting as a litigant. So whereas my client was pro se and the ex-wife had a lawyer, she was kind of acting as, with that lawyer, acting as a litigant. That lawyer had not made the case that my client was in contempt, had not made the case that he had not turned over the DVDs. She was helping to make the case by her actions and what she was doing. She was basically no longer a judge. She was acting as a litigant. So how close can you get this judge's actions?
I do not own the rights to this live stream on YouTube. Could I get in trouble? Probably. I don't have any way to get by with it. I'm not that smart. So you all need to know this information. Let's get back to it.
In support or advocating on behalf of this Lynette lady. Like, what's the best fact?
So the best, and help me out, chat. Maybe because chat, there's a lot of What the Hell's fans in the chat right now. There's almost 3,000 people watching, and I'm trying to think. While I'm thinking, maybe chat can also help me out. What is the best fact, as John just said, to show that Judge DeThomasis has stepped in the shoes of a lawyer? That's the first video. Yes, the first video. In the first video, what is the best evidence to show Judge DeThomasis was not acting as a judge, but he was acting as a lawyer, as her lawyer? What is one of the best facts? And the only one that I can think of that is coming to mind right now from the viewing is, again, he directed her on multiple occasions. And the problem is, again, and this is going to be the hardest part of it to prove, probably. There we go. That was exactly what I was going to say, Jennifer Whitaker. He was guiding her answers. As she's trying to represent herself, she's like, Your Honor, I need to do, I have this. And he's like, no, I don't need that. I need you to provide me something more. Like what you're providing me with is hearsay. He was leading her words. He was leading her on to kind of zone her in and constantly try and help her out in the best way possible. And I believe at one point he even cross-examines one of the lawyers for Jeremy. That's in a later hearing. At another point, he, I believe, cross-examines Jeremy himself. On November 29th, people are saying he totally litigated her case. But again, that's not really an answer. But Megan Fox has covered this. I wonder what she's up to. If I can send her this link. I don't know if she's available to join right now. Let me see. Let me.
Well, let me just say while you're doing that, Larry. Yeah. I mean, just based on that. I mean, if the best evidence against the judge is that he's being unfair to one side because he's helping the other side, and he's asking questions on their behalf. I mean, how many criminal cases have you tried, Larry? I mean, does that not sound like basic criminal defense? I mean, isn't that what judges do? Is it like they help prosecutors in criminal cases? I mean, that's sort of been my experience. Like, I don't think that alone is going to be enough, because that to me it sounds like judges being judges, Like they like to pick a side and help one side. And in criminal cases, that's almost always the prosecutors. Like every criminal case I've ever prosecuted, the judges are helping the prosecutors.
Yes, he
And
did, Ward.
It's one thing to help. No, I agree with you. It's one thing to kind of just be a neutral arbiter, just kind of trying to guide the process. It's a whole other terrain, potentially. Again, I'm not.
Yeah, I think that's why the DUI guy got him in there to talk about that. If you remember back when this civil rights lawyer there, what's his name? John Bryan, he done a case somewhere where this woman judge came to this person's house with she got in trouble with the Bar Association or something like that. I remember seeing it on YouTube. She got into trouble with the help of him and the other group, what they call Institute for Justice. You know, it's not over with, people. Let's get back to it.
Matters is they move and they follow, they stalk. Going to be able to join. She has a little bit of background noise, but we're going to deal with it because she is the one with the intel, John. So please bear with us. We'll finish this up here in a few minutes. But about the first hearing when Judge DeThomasis, the one that you watched today, when Judge DeThomasis on multiple occasions acted as Lynette's lawyer.
Yeah.
What do we have a smoking gun? Is there a way to potentially lift his absolute immunity to show that the judge clearly was not acting in the capacity of a judge, but was acting in the capacity of Lynette's lawyer? What did you see today? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I did, and I wrote down a timestamp on it too. Let me think. What was it? I think it was the moment when the defendant's attorney asked to cross-examine her. Oh, I know. He said, since you won't let me cross-examine her, I've got two witnesses here who have been here for 4 hours, and they want to get up and testify. So we don't have to call them back. Can they get up? And the judge said, you want to have her a woman without a lawyer cross-examine witnesses? And he said, well, yeah, Judge, I think that's how it works. She's pro se. She chose to go pro se. The judge can't protect her from her own choices to not have a lawyer. But he did. And he didn't allow those two to testify because he was determined that she was going to, I don't know. Did he get her a lawyer?
You need to go to her
Silverman to get her a lawyer
YouTube
after
channel.
that?
It's Megan Fox Ryder.
Sure got one.
WRITER.
I mean, one of the things that Judge Goldston was accused of by the judicial disciplinary folks was, because there was a pro se party involved, but it was discriminating against a pro se party. You know, treating the other party, the ex-wife who had the lawyer, who was friends with the judge, who was close with the judge, treating that side better and helping them, assisting them, advocating on their behalf against the pro se party who had no idea what he was doing and was just told to show up 10 minutes later.
Let you know, people, I do not own the rights to this video. I do not own the rights. Go to their YouTube channel and click and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Please do it. Hashtag buckle up, people.
Litigating against pro se parties. Why? One, because sometimes they're absolutely crazy, like it sounds just like this lady is. But secondly, because judges, that's kind of what they do, is they help pro se parties. That's not uncommon in my experience, is judges feel like they have to assist, give a lot of leeway to pro se parties because they don't have lawyers, they don't exactly know what they're doing. So if it's not a judge going against a pro se party and favoring some lawyer that they're buddies with, but in fact just kind of assisting, even if they shouldn't be doing it, a pro se party, I don't think that's going to be enough, because it's going to be hard, I think, to sue a judge successfully for anything they're doing literally like in the courtroom. Like I think the example of the judge literally leaving the courtroom and going to a litigant's home and searching it is a great example of how one could lose judicial immunity, because it's a very clear delineation of leaving the bench, leaving the courtroom, and then going and performing some other function. So long as the judge is doing it from the bench, I think they're going to be given the benefit of the doubt. And one of the famous cases, judicial immunity cases, is where a judge instructed a bailiff to go get this lawyer from this other courtroom and bring this other lawyer before me. And when you do it, use excessive force, beat the lawyer up. So there's no dispute that the judge said that, directed the bailiff to go grab a lawyer and to beat the lawyer up, to violate the lawyer's Fourth Amendment right to be free from excessive force. So there's no dispute that the judge did that, and that it in fact violated the Fourth Amendment rights of this lawyer. But guess what? The judge got judicial absolute immunity because the judge was still sitting on the bench, and it involved a case that was pending before that judge involving that lawyer. So, I mean, that's how much leeway, that's how flexible judicial immunity is. Like, it's almost always going to cover anything that happens within the realm of that courtroom. Like, there's almost nothing that a judge could do, like sitting on the bench with a case pending before that judge, to end up losing judicial immunity. Like, that's how
protected they are.
It is. So yeah. I think find some sort of realistic liability here. Like, you'd have to find something happening outside of the courtroom, or you'd have to expose some sort of a conspiracy through like extrajudicial communications, like emails between this judge and the party saying, all right, you show up tomorrow and this is what we're going to do. You know, something like that. Yeah, that would do it.
That would be the smoking gun.
I think you need something like that. And it probably doesn't exist. And so what does that leave you? And I've had this conversation with lots of people so far, and they don't want to hear it, but it's correct. Like, the best for those situations, like, the proper remedy, the only real remedy is a judicial disciplinary complaint. Like, there are a lot of rules for judges. Every state has them, and they can be very strict. So you pick your best violations. So if you think the judge did something wrong, you ought to be able to match it to one of the, I think they're called the canons of judicial conduct. So you take your strongest allegations, you figure out which canons of judicial misconduct the judge violated, and you file a judicial disciplinary complaint. And in West Virginia, there's a 2-year statute of limitations to do that. I'm not sure what it is in Florida, but you probably have a couple of years to follow.
I'll tell you about Missouri. We had a bunch of bad lawyers in Missouri. I mean, not lawyers, judges and lawyers, but the judges were all turned into the judicial committee there, and also in Texas, where there were a bunch of them. These people only look at these things once. They have a public hearing once every 2 years. None of the judges have ever, in these two places, both in the place in Texas, barely any of them have ever been, even slapped on the wrist and people are waiting 2-3 years to hear anything out of their complaints. I think it's a terrible system. I think that the legislature ought to do a better job by using their impeachment powers to get rid of judges, because the judicial committees are not doing their jobs. Not from what I've looked into and the cases that I've followed.
Yeah, and same here. So let's take a look. This is approximately the smoking gun that Megan is talking about that chat mentioned. So let's see if we find anything glaring.
Exacerbation of a prior condition of anxiety, that she's currently now in therapeutic intervention and seeking assistance for that it's persistent, that it's ongoing, and that it's perceived as being threatening to her safety and the safety of her family. So that's what she said. Now, one could argue, oh, some ordinary person would just blow this off and get on with their life.
Hang up the phone.
And I mean, we'll get to that, and I suspect I'll get an argument about that. And I've read the cases you sent me ahead of time, and one was domestic, one was stalking. The domestic has a footnote that the stalking is part of domestic, and so they analyzed it that way. I'm with you. I know, but it doesn't deny and should not deprive her the ability to present it. And I'm just not going to have my clerks wait here till after 5 o'clock at my court security. And
Your Honor, can I say something? In Ohio,
and here's another thing. The court's concerned by doing so. There's not a temporary injunction in place, so there's no
There is,
intermediate.
Judge. There's a permanent injunction in place.
In another court, yeah.
Yes, she can't come near him. He'll be okay.
So there's
so
no
how
such
did,
thing in
and how did
Florida.
the video happen the other day?
Ma'am, there's no such thing as a mutual injunction, but there's a such thing as people having independent injunctions considered on their own merits. The standard of law in Ohio is preponderance of evidence. The standard here is a little higher, competent substantial evidence.
May I say something that's pertinent to what you're talking about?
Hang on.
He was asked in Ohio, can we make this a mutual order between you two? Both. He said no,
I think it's
He
a
said
little
no.
further than this.
because then he couldn't be able to do what he's doing to me.
Right, which is why
He starts arguing
Florida
with the
law has a statutory
with
provision
Feather about the
against
witnesses.
injunctions. However, there is,
Oh, that's what I'm looking for.
as
Yeah.
it may be, injunctions won't.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's going to be enough. Anything happening within the context of that hearing in that courtroom, it's just going to be. I mean, we all have complaints about judges. Some of them are worse than others. I don't think that's going to be enough. Like it has to be. It has to be more extrajudicial. It has to be more outrageous.
I think if you want quick justice, you're not going to get justice at all. And if you want to spend
This part was pretty
6
bad
or 8
too.
months in an appellate court process, you could end up with that. Or we could hear the whole case and allow the court to make a determination on the merits of this case, and it could result in an injunction or not. I mean, what your lawyer's saying is it's going to result in a quick and speedy resolution with a dismissal. I guess he's predicting what I'm going to do. That's a really hypothesis without basis.
I thought he was going to say outlandish statement.
Could we take the witnesses that are present in the
Here we
court?
go.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Inconvenienced again, Your Honor. We have the mayor of Otter Creek present.
The mayor.
We have her husband. They both like to testify. Could we do that in light of the...
I didn't even know that was actually an incorporated municipality. I mean, that's like just
You're going to be 5-minute
a
witnesses.
gas station or something, my recollection.
You're going to have a pro se litigant try to engage in cross-examination, not even understanding what that is, to ask questions.
Okay, what the hell does that mean? You're going to have a pro se litigant who doesn't even understand the process asking questions. That's exactly what a pro se litigant does when they're pro se, you moron.
She did it in Ohio. She cross-examined in Ohio. Why is she not allowed to do it in this courtroom? It's exactly what she signed up for.
Yeah, but I know what John's about to say. It's a ruling from the bench. Absolute immunity is going to apply, aren't you, John?
Yeah, I mean, that's litigation, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, your remedy is to appeal or file a judicial disciplinary complaint or politics. You know, you don't like this judge. You know, they have judicial elections in Florida. Support a different judge next go around.
Well, he was appointed by DeSantis 4 years ago, 5 years
Right,
ago.
but he'll have to run at some point, right?
Yes,
Don't they have-
2026. I think it's a 6-year term.
2026. He already
Or-
was elected one time. Right after his appointment, the next year he was elected because he ran unopposed. And
Well,
now this next time, maybe not. But I mean, I really feel like this is every bit as offensive as working against a pro se client, a pro se litigant. Because look, she's been given all the admonitions. She's been told you would do better to have an attorney. So instead of just moving on with the process, he's giving her all this extra time While meanwhile, the respondent is not getting his due process. He wasn't allowed to speak on his behalf. His lawyer was not allowed to speak on his behalf for an entire 2-hour hearing. I just think it's crazy.
And there is
the way. Let me tell you the way our case really ended, other than the financial settlement. So the judicial disciplinary process actually could not even remove a judge because they're elected. I mean, they're elected politicians. I mean, the voters put them there. So the Supreme Court of West Virginia can suspend a judge, but they can't just remove a judge. So who can do that? The legislature can impeach a judge. Yep. And that's what actually ended up happening in our case, is the judge was not removed in the disciplinary process. And when I took her deposition, I already had the West Virginia Supreme Court opinion, the highest court in our state, saying that she searched my client's house. And so when I took her deposition, I'd say, did you search my client's house? She said, no. And I said, well, Judge, I have in my hand a published opinion from the highest court in our state that says that you did search his house. She's like, yeah. And I said, so do you disagree with that? Yeah, I disagree with that. They're wrong. And everything went like that. All right, you seized items from her house. No, I didn't. But the Supreme Court said you did. Yeah, well, they're wrong. And everything was like that. So she's disagreeing with everything that literally is law. Like, it is law. The law is now that this woman searched my client's house and she was wrong. And she would just, I say I disagree. And she's elected. So what happened? The legislature, people contacted their legislators, they activated on it, and they were going to impeach her. And they ran it up to the last day. They were going to vote to impeach her, so she resigned. And so, while it's not easy, it's not, the political resolution is not easy. That's your last line of defense. If the appeals aren't going to work, you can't sue because of judicial immunity. And if you're in a state like Missouri, like you're talking about, Megan, where there's no real substantive disciplinary review or prosecution, then maybe the last thing that you can do is get involved with politics. Contact the legislators, donate.
Yeah, you know what they said to me in Missouri? I went to the Capitol. We talked to senators. I took families there who had been wronged by these judges and these guardians ad litem, and sat in front of the senators and Congress and the House of Representative members. And I asked them point blank, what about impeachment? Can you impeach them? And one of them leaned back in his chair and he looked at me and he goes, we've never done that, have we? Have we ever done that, Bill? Have we ever done that? Yeah, and they're all sitting around the table going, no, we've never done that. We don't know. Not yet. That. It's really unfortunate.
Well, it's not easy for sure. That's why it's got to be something more than it takes an hour-long video to explain where you have to watch what's being said in a courtroom. And you have to have some X factor that's not there. You have to have at least a minute-long video of the judge showing up to this dude's front yard and searching his house. Something like that. That's what was able to get traction.
Judge Eric Amy.
In the other case.
Judge Eric Amy, who marched children out of the courtroom and took them to the jail underneath his courthouse and locked him up. He just lost his immunity. He's a Missouri judge who locked up. Is that
the Rocket case?
Yep, the Rocket case. He just got deposed last week.
Yeah, that's the other good example, and that's also a Institute for Justice case.
Yeah. So let's see if there's anything else here.
I think that's how it works.
Since this case is so crazy,
in time, it will work. Yes, in time. Appointed? It takes time. You're trying to railroad it through.
Your Honor, I'm not trying to railroad it. I'm trying to convenience these witnesses who've been waiting 4 hours to testify.
And I've been doing what in the past 4 hours? adjudicating the merits of about 6 other litigants times 2, because there's 2 in each case. Some were served, some were not served, with witnesses, some without witnesses, some with supporters, not with supporters. I don't know when we started how many people were here, 25 or 30. Am I insensitive to these folks having to come back?
Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm completely cognizant of it. You guys want to come back on a Saturday or Sunday? I'll be here on a Saturday or Sunday. You want to come back at midnight? We'll be back at midnight. But I'm not going to put my clerks through that or my court security through that.
I'm just suggesting that we inconvenience the witnesses by taking their testimony now, Your Honor, if the court would consider it.
You know, the request is denied. It's mind-boggling.
Am I allowed at all to get a court-appointed lawyer in something like this?
No, ma'am. It's not a criminal case. There's no constitutional. There's a right to counsel. There's not a right to court-appointed counsel.
Now I understand why he.
Sorry that I'm not an attorney.
Want to come back tomorrow? Let's come back at 9.
You know, people, that is weird. It's weird. To me, I think he don't have immunity in my book. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. So, we get views on everything. Make sure you subscribe to the DUR guy, Megan Fox. Subscribe to her channel. And this John guy, who's a civil rights lawyer, subscribe to his channel. And, you know, to me, that Judge Craig D. Thomas, a-hole, has screwed up, people. He has really screwed up in my book. I think if this happened in Indiana, it probably wouldn't be this bad. I don't know. Every state, commonwealth is different. So, let's get back to it.
And these witnesses to resolve this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And if
We're
it
willing
can't
to
be
stay
done
as long as
tomorrow, and you're asking for a continuance beyond tomorrow, I'll grant that. But I don't want anyone to be misled into thinking I'm shirking my responsibility to adjudicate this case on its merits.
Your Honor, we would be grateful to stay as long as it takes.
You're missing the point. It's not about you and me. We have other participants in this.
Yes.
Okay? Our court staff and our court security. And so I'm shutting it down in about 6 minutes. And if you want to come back at 9 o'clock, it's offered to you all. If you can't come back or you're not willing to come back, if you have a calendar conflict, you've got a week's time to make a change in your calendar.
Fine with me, Your Honor.
We'll be back here Wednesday, December 6th at 1 p.m.
I'll have to obviously maybe take a closer look at it, but I mean, I think you can see, John, this is just one little taste of, and it gets much, much worse. The reason that, so his lawyers, Jeremy's lawyers, Mark Feather has since been replaced with Doreen Inclees and Randy Shockett. There are the 2 lawyers on the case now. Doreen is the writer, Randy is the litigator. And they represent Jeremy, and they filed a motion to recuse, essentially, disqualify, what they call it in Florida. The disqualified Judge DeThomasis, he denied it. They made a second motion to recuse, he denied it, with a 5-page, single-spaced, 2,600-word, I'm not coming off the bench, and here's why. Then they tried a third time last week to remove him. They said, please, Judge, remove yourself from this case. And he said one more time, by the way, court was on Wednesday, February 28th. So just last week. And it's 9 a.m., 9:30. Court begins at 1:30. They still don't have a ruling from Judge DeThomasis. They nudge the clerk, say, hey, do we have an answer? Like, are we going to get an answer today? What's going on? And the clerk was like, okay, I'll ask the judge. Within 5 minutes, John, they had an email in their inbox with the judge's order saying, I'm not recusing myself for the third time now. And it was like 2 pages of, again, utter BS. Literally, and Megan probably dropped out. Thank you so much, Megan. I know you probably can't hear me, but you guys go subscribe to her channel. Go watch the video from today. She went through the full hearing. We just did a couple minutes. She did the full hearing today. So thank you so much again, Megan, for joining us. So Wednesday at 9:37, John, the judge literally blindsides. It's like, oh, you want my order? Here you go. It's already canned. It was ready to go. He just was sitting on it. He waited until the last minute. Now, what he did not expect is what followed, because 8 minutes later, his lawyers, Jeremy's lawyers, file a motion to stay proceedings pending a petition for, oh God, what is it called? To stay proceedings for, the term escapes me right now. I'm sorry.
Writ of prohibition?
Writ of prohibition. Thank you. I just couldn't think of the name. Writ of prohibition to basically ask the Supremes, or not the Supremes, but we go to the Supremes. In Florida, they go to the First District Court of Appeals to ask to remove him. And so the judge at the 1:30 hearing, which is now on the What the Hales channel, also go to What the Hales, subscribe to them, and watch their latest video on the court that Jeremy posted, I think yesterday.
That's true.
Judge DeThomasis was like, I'm not going to stay proceedings. I refuse. So again, he just continues like piling on the pressure. And the hearing was supposed to be Friday, the continuation of the continuation of the continuation. This is like, here, it'll be hearing number 6 now on this case, because again, I won't bore you with all the details because it's a lot. And I know you don't have a lot of time. So Wednesday, the judge is like, okay, you want time? He doesn't even ask how much time do you need, because the lawyers ask for 7 days. Give us 7 days, just stay proceedings. Give us 7 days. We'll get you a writ of prohibition. You know what he says? I'm giving you 1 day. I'm giving you until 6 a.m. This is Wednesday at like 3 p.m. I'm giving you until Friday at 6 a.m. If it's not submitted by Friday at 6 a.m., excuse me, I think I said p.m. If it's not submitted by Friday at 6 a.m., we're having our trial, Friday at 9 a.m. No exceptions, no questions, no nothing. God bless Randy, and most importantly, Doreen, who spends, I don't know if she sleeps at all. She spends whatever remains of Wednesday, the entirety of Thursday. We know she didn't sleep Friday because the petition is submitted at 5:55 a.m. And we went over the petition on our channel. Go check it out. It's in the playlists. We read it cover to cover. And it's beautifully written. Granted, there's some error, but I can't fault her. I mean, she probably hasn't slept, a poor woman, like 48 hours, John. I mean, I'd probably be writing worse than her. She's a beautiful writer, very eloquent. And the judge, of course, I mean, at that point, he has no choice. The proceedings are stayed, frozen in time, whatever you want to call it, whether he likes it or not. And so that's where we are now. But here's the biggest problem, John. At one of the hearings, I think it was number 3 or 4, and maybe it was the January 23rd hearing, as a matter of fact, I think, because that one Megan and I did on her channel. Judge DeThomasis starts getting very angry, personally, with Jeremy and his lawyers, and saying, Jeremy has this YouTube channel where he's making money. That's his primary mode of making a living. And he's taking my hearings and fucking monetizing them. He's making like a mockery. He's embarrassing the situation. He's embarrassing the judiciary. He's embarrassing this and that. He's in violation of this order. He's in violation of that order. He's in violation of this order. And basically something that's already been adjudicated by Chief Justice Mosley for the First District of Florida, because there was some BS. Again, it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this discussion. But essentially, judge just he refuses to listen to the merits of the case, and he keeps coming back to this whole your YouTube way of making a living is upsetting to me. Very, very, very upsetting to me. And that's why they want to remove him. And that's why they asked to remove him. But here's the problem. In order to shut Jeremy up, he took away his First Amendment right. He said if other people, this is unprecedented, John. This is unprecedented. Cyber stalking or no cyber stalking. He said, Jeremy, I'm going to punish you if any one of your viewers does anything that basically I find offensive in any way, shape, or form, contacting the court, contacting Lynette, contacting John, whatever, John Cook, of course, not you, then I will hold you, Jeremy Hale, personally responsible for their speech, for their exercise of their free speech. I'm going to punish you because, again, and his biggest mistake there is he says Jeremy Hales is What the Hales' channel. What the Hales' channel is Jeremy Hales. They're inextricably linked. Everything that he says or the channel says or something is said on his channel is directly appropriated towards Jeremy. And that is the most unconstitutional thing about this case. Now, don't get me started about, I listed all the violations that Judge DeThomasis has made in my description of pretty much all my videos at this point. And there are numerous. Essentially, First Amendment right, obviously, the First Amendment right to free speech. He's now being punished for other people's speech, exercising of their speech. He's not allowed to have guns. So the temporary injunction has been granted. He can't have guns in his home to protect himself. So his Second Amendment right has been infringed. Thank God the judge is not ordering the quartering of troops at his home, because that would be the Third Amendment violation. But we do have a Fourth Amendment violation as well, because there is a piece of land with an easement to access his property, and he can't use that piece of land because the judge said go the other way because Lynette's property is right over here. It's adjacent, and he has to kind of pass by her property to enter his property. So that access to that easement has been closed off. That's his Fourth Amendment deprivation of property. His Fifth Amendment right to due process of law, that's an obvious one. And of course, the right to a speedy trial, a speedy hearing, a speedy resolution of his case. This has been pending since September 7th when she first filed it. The temporary injunction was put in on December 4th. He has been without all these rights 3 months today. Today's the 3-month anniversary. I guess we're celebrating 2 anniversaries. The 4-year anniversary of your case and the 3-month anniversary of Jeremy being deprived of 50% of his constitutional rights by this rogue judge. And here's the best part, John. Here's the best part. Because of the writ of prohibition freezing this case in its place, Judge DeThomasis, before he involuntarily left on Wednesday, February 28th, he kept the temporary injunction in place. He renewed it because he has to renew the temporary injunction. It expires each time the next court hearing happens. It expires. So he has to renew the temporary injunction until there's a resolution. And he renewed it over and over and over again. And once again, he renewed it. And now the temporary injunction is in place until the next hearing date. When is the next hearing date? It's when the Court of Appeals in the First District rules and says, Judge DeThomasis, you are out, or says, nope, everything's good, Judge DeThomasis, you stay in, and then Judge DeThomasis will pick a new date, and that could be April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. It could be January before we hear back. As you know, the courts of appeals are swamped. They do not move fast, and it could be 2025 before Jeremy gets his rights restored.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why, I sometimes, as much as I like to fight in court, I have conversations with people before that kicks off, and I say, look, do you really want this in your life? That's how litigation can be. Sometimes you get bad judges, sometimes you get difficult pro se opponents, sometimes you get asshole lawyers on the other side who can be an absolute nightmare. Sometimes you're buying that when you enter into some sort of a dispute with a neighbor. Sometimes you're buying that when you end up having a relationship with a crazy person. I've asked how many times I've been asked, somebody's in big trouble because their spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever got them in trouble. What can I do? Well, you can, if we had a time machine, I could fix this for you. You could go back in time and never enter into a relationship with that person, but we don't have a time machine. So it's going to be a long, difficult road. And I mean, this just seems like that sort of a scenario to me, that this is, maybe these are egregious examples of what can go wrong in litigation. But I think the larger point to me is that it's got to be something more than that. And what you said with the YouTube stuff, now I think you're getting into maybe something could be done territory. I've had a little bit of that done to me, because at this point in the cases that I personally litigate, I mean, the defense lawyers, the cops, like, they know who I am. So when I notice a deposition of a defendant as a video deposition, like, they see, you know, they don't just see me taking their client's deposition. They see a YouTube video of me taking their client's deposition. So I've already had it happen where they run to the judge and they say, this needs to be treated differently. This can't be treated like a regular case. He can't be treated like a regular lawyer because he has this big YouTube channel. And that's what he's going to do. And it's going to cause a public safety issue, because last time he did a YouTube video on our client's case, our client received death threats. And it's a public safety problem because our 911 center was tied up and there were angry people that shut down our Facebook page. So that's what tyrants do, is they try to shut down free speech by labeling it some sort of bogus public safety threat. And so that's how they've tried to silence me personally. And even now, like, I can't just take a regular video deposition of somebody without a protective order being in place saying that I can't use that video footage until after the case is resolved.
Wow.
And the reason why that is because trial judges have wide discretion to control the proceedings that are before them. So that can, they have the ability to shut me up about a case that's pending before them. But once that case is resolved, then my First Amendment rights of free speech far outweigh any public safety bullshit that they're bringing up. So the practical effect of that is that they can prevent me from making YouTube videos about cases that I'm litigating, so long as they're active cases that may get in front of a jury.
YouTube channel.
Can I make a suggestion? Or is this an idiotic? What if you send them to me and I make them public? You're not doing it.
Well, I mean, there are ways.
I didn't say nothing.
There are ways around that. I've considered. I've had people contact me and they're like, "Look, I'm a professional animator. I can take your deposition, and I'll have like animations. I'll have an animated John Bryan asking questions, and then I'll have an animated like police officer who's answering." Like, I've considered stuff like that. I mean, there are potential ways around it. Like, there are other people could upload things. It hasn't been important enough to me to try to get around that, because I'm not trying to. I don't want to hurt clients by, exercising my own free speech rights. So I haven't pushed the envelope on any of that.
I guess my question is, if you get a case that's egregious enough and you're not your client, now again, it's always about the client. We don't care about our YouTube channels. I will say this: I had my own hearing that I had to sit on for like 4 years, John. 4 years. I could post it at any moment, but I had to wait for the case to be over because it would hurt my client. But I guess the question is, and then I posted it, of course, once the case was over. Nobody got hurt. But I was worried that somebody might get hurt if I do post it ahead of time. Well, if you have a case where you absolutely positively have to, because you're not getting your client is not getting the justice they deserve, and the only way to get the prosecution, the defense, like whatever side you're on, to prosecution in the criminal case or the defense in the civil case, to budge and do anything is by making it. Take it a step further, even if it sincerely and directly a judicial order that says thou shalt not disseminate. I'm going to take it to the extreme. What happens then?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in the public being able to see things. The best example of that is this family court judge search case, where it would have been an almost impossible task to do anything about that. And all the things that you're describing, what's happening in Florida right now in this case, like, you can multiply that by several times to describe what happens in family courts around this country on a daily basis, because there are no juries and you have this broad discretion held by these family court judges. And not only that, such as places like West Virginia, it's confidential. So they try to stop you from being able to tell people what's happening in family court just on the grounds that it's confidential. So they have a lot of places this kind of scam going on, like a pay-to-play sort of deal, where you have to hire the right lawyer to get results in family courts. This has happened across the country, and then it's confidential, and they try to keep it confidential. So even what you're describing there in Levy County, Florida, I've heard horror stories about the things that happen in family courts across the country. Mm-hmm. And it's happening all the time. And I think the best way to combat it is for people to be able to put things on YouTube. And it had my case never been uploaded to YouTube, I don't think there would have been no disciplinary case. Probably the judge wouldn't have been threatened with impeachment. And I don't know, maybe nothing would have happened, because it had been happening for 20 years before.
Right.
So right. I think that's a fight worth having. And sometimes you just have to decide whether the particular hill is worth dying on. So, I mostly almost all litigate in the federal courts. And in the federal courts, generally, you don't have this problem where you have these kangaroo courts like you may have in Levy County, Florida, or in Raleigh County, West Virginia. You have a much more fair system than in the federal court. So I don't deal with that as much. And you also, you don't really defy a federal judge very easily. When a federal judge tells you to do something, you'd have to really make a decision that it was the right hill to die on to do it. Because
Chad, call me a psychopath. John, call me a sociopath, but I dream of the day in a criminal case, a civil case, I don't know, a deposition, a speeding ticket, whatever case. It's never going to happen in a speeding ticket case, but I wait the day. Do you remember, John, that video of a public defender in a courthouse? The FBI comes in and they got their phones and they're trying to take a photo of her client who's like about to be indicted in a federal case. And she's standing there blocking their view. Like, no, you're not photographing my client. You're not photographing my client. And they handcuff her and they say, you're under arrest. You are, what did they say? You're obstructing justice or whatever the fuck they said. Do you remember that video?
No.
It's from 7-8 years ago. I was about to say, it was before your time. I think you're older than me. I can't even say that. But anyway, so that video went viral. Every lawyer, including me, was looking at it. I was a baby lawyer back then, 2-3 years ago. And Chad, do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember this case? Oh my God. I remember it went viral and this woman became a celebrity overnight. Oh, they wanted the phone. That's right. They wanted the phone. They wanted his phone. And she said, no, you are not getting his phone. You are not getting his phone. And it was the most amazing. And call me a sociopath, call me a psychopath, call me the die on your own hill, like you said. I dream of the day when I believe that I am 100% in the right and I'm doing things in the best interest of my client. I dream of that when that's the day I become a martyr. That is the day when the whole world is going to be like, they just locked up an attorney for doing his job. And there was a case actually here in Jefferson County where I practice. I forget the gentleman's name. He always used to wear a hat to court. Chad probably will not be able to do this one, unfortunately, because it was God, I can't remember his name. I remember the judge. It was in the 8th Judicial District here on a now retired judge. So I won't call him out because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But he was a public defender, and he represented a client who was allegedly committed a felony and who was not convicted. And I believe the defense attorney kept trying to tell the judge, like, Your Honor, I have to do like my job. I have to protect his rights. I have to this, and the other. And the judge kept just cutting him off and said, No, you're done here. And he said, No, Your Honor, I have to finish my sentence. You can't. I need to. No, you're not finished. No, you're not doing it. No, Your Honor, you don't understand. And they just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the judge put him in timeout. And what is timeout with a judge? Deputy take him away and put him in the little, he didn't like put him in a cell or nothing, but he put him in that, in a courthouse. Those of you who have never been to a courthouse, there's like a little door where all the inmates come in and come out, and there's all the cells over there. And there's that one little chair. There's one little chair. It's called the timeout chair. Literally, it's probably the nickname for it. It's the timeout chair for anybody who the judge wants to like put in timeout for 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, as long as the courtroom is open. She's not locking them up, or he's not locking them up, but they're basically like in timeout. They're in custody. They're in the court custody. They're in the custody of the court. And that public defender became known to everybody, knew the story, including myself, how the judge put him in timeout. Like, I don't remember how long. It was 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. But his freedom was taken away. He could not leave just because he tried to defend his client, and the judge refused to listen. It's a very, very famous situation, again, like I said, on a now retired judge. But this was here in Louisville, in Jefferson County a few years ago. I want to say maybe 2016, 2017, Division 8. And and nothing happened to the judge. People are asking, what happened to the judge? Nothing happened to the judge. He was acting under the color of his authority or her authority. Again, I don't want to reveal the gender of the judge because it doesn't matter. But what matters is the martyr that he became after that. He became a hero. He became an absolute hero. And because he was in the right, he believed he was in the right. He did the right thing. And I don't know. And that's my problem with judges who rule improperly. And again, I know, preserve for appeal, yada, yada, yada. You're still an officer of the court. Somebody in the chat was like, actually, John, calling both me and you, that it's an insult to us to call us officers of the court because we're everything but, in the sense of officer of the court means you're like a friend of the court. You're like a friend of the prosecutor. You're an officer of the court. We are the last line of defense of the Constitution. And so that's why I think they're like officer of the court is almost like a demeaning, degrading statement. Calling you buddy with all these people who we dislike and disagree with. So I'll take that as a compliment. But yeah.
Larry, one of the good things about being a plaintiff's lawyer like myself,
people, make sure you go to DUI Guys YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to John's YouTube channel and subscribe to his channel. They're two good people. I've been watching John, I guess, maybe a year on his cases. He's a very smart lawyer, what he does. I remember seeing that one where the woman was a judge and acting as a police officer and this and that, which you heard him talk about. She was wrong. She's outside of her authority. She wasn't on the bench. She was acting as a police officer. No search warrant, this and that. You heard him talk about it. Let's get back and listen to John.
You're in some family court in West Virginia where your judge hates my guts because he can make your life a living hell and my life a living hell. I'm not going to subject myself to that. I'm not going to subject you to that. So I have some control over where I'm going to, subject
and
myself
I guess that's
to
where
jurisdiction somewhere.
This is where you and I differ, because I eat their ego for breakfast, John. I'm sorry. I'm probably.
But you also get to litigate on video. Remember, in federal court,
fair.
we have no videotape.
I love when the judge is just like, Oh, local counsel, good morning. Oh, yes, absolutely. Do my case, do their case, Oh, another local counsel. Yes, come on up. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Oh, public defender. Oh, hey, buddy, come on up and show me your case. Who the hell are you, Mr. Foreman? Yeah, where are you from? Yeah, okay. And yeah, we're doing your case. Okay. Oh, you're right. No more continuances. This case has gone on long enough. We are going to get a trial date immediately. We're going to litigate this case. And I'm like, oh, please, Judge, give me. I'm like soaking it up. You're giving me that ego boost that I need, man. So I'm sorry. To me, I'm telling you, there's probably something wrong with me because I enjoy that. But it's true. It's true. I'm a litigator. I like to be in the fire. I like to stick my hand in and see if it burns. And if it does burn, I go, well, how hot can it burn before I actually have to remove my hand? That's me.
Yeah, I mean, it you know,
John's like, I made John speechless.
I've done that. I think I've done that. You know, to the extent that I want to do it. Like at this point, I enjoy being in federal court because, like, you have judges that have like an army of law clerks, plenty of staff, and the rules are followed. You know what you're getting. Yes, you know the deadlines are enforced, and it may not be the easiest thing to do, but you're treated with respect, and I like to be treated with respect. Whereas I've had bad experiences going into state court somewhere and you get like what I call the welcome stranger tax. And I don't have to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, it may be fun to fight sometimes, but
we're in different territory. You are in organized, structured, level-headed territory. I'm in the wild, wild west. I'm in the district courts. Literally every judge is like, it's like opening up a can of spam. You don't know what you're going to get. You may get a toe, like a pig hoof. You may get like a horse ear. You don't know what you're going to get in your spam this evening, and for you, every time you open it, it's like a can of Coke. Coca-Cola is going to be in that can. That's the best analogy I can think of on the fly. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be surprised with anything. I'm trying to file, at this point, like I'm filing a case I know I can win because I've done it before several times and I'm confident in it. But there are times when I get a wild hair to take something on unusual, and that's what this case was, this family court judge case. And from day one, I didn't know if we could win, and I didn't care if we could win because I knew it was the right thing to do. And even if I spent a whole bunch of time and money and lost, like I was okay with that from day one. And I think that's part of the reason why I think it was successful because it was, I think there was a certain confidence there. But anyways, my wife is texting me.
Oh, you're good, man. I kept you way longer than I anticipated.
Waiting for me, so I
am so sorry. Go. No, it's already past your bedtime. You should have been asleep by now. John, cheers to you, you fucking beast, bro. I swear on my channel, so I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. But I fucking love you, man. You are the real deal. You are a litigator in your own right. You do fantastic work, and congratulations on the $200,000 for your client. Cheers to that.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
Hopefully we'll have you back on here soon, and maybe one day I'll go on your channel as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely. Let's do it.
All right. We'll talk to you later, man.
All right, man. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.
So let's take care of some super chats since I saw a bunch of questions you guys have. So I apologize if you had questions for John, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to be here for this. He's got to go take a nap or go to bed or get some food, as he said his wife has prepared. So God bless him. God bless this man, and may he live a long, full, healthy life. Jermaine Downs says he opined that Ohio court ruled against her in bad faith. That is, that's definitely part of it. The best fact is guiding Lynette, that the Thomases is guiding her and providing her with the law, plus not recognizing the Ohio protective order, says Susan Scataregia. Also, Susan says, I feel this has gone beyond pro se help. Grudge judge has been partial from day one. And again, as you heard, the man himself who litigated a First Amendment, a judicial immunity case start to finish with the Institute for Justice, the IJ. I mean, maybe we need them on this case, huh? Maybe we need to reach out to the Institute for Justice. It's been on my to-do list. I'm not going to lie. It's actually right here. I'm looking at it right here. I wrote it down, Institute for Justice, and I made that note on February 29th in my Google Notes. It's been on my to-do list, but it hasn't really been because I'm not the lawyer on this case. Jeremy has not hired me. I've just been kind of covering it from the sidelines, and his lawyers are doing fantastic work, so he doesn't really need me. But if we're going to go pierce judicial immunity of Judge DeThomasis and sue him in his personal capacity for trying to act as her attorney, I mean, we have to go through the footage. We have to see if there's something here, and maybe they'll be willing to assist. If there's something here, if we can, sue Judge DeThomasis civilly, I mean, that would be fantastic, because then Jeremy can go after, instead of just going after Lynette, he can go after Judge DeThomasis, and that's huge. That is absolutely huge. Pepper NC says, Fox, John grew up in Levy County. Florida is a state police. Yep.
Remember, people, subscribe to the DUI guy and John's Web YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to those people. They both are great lawyers. Let's get back to it.
Can we sue him for his misconduct? And that's a different problem. Brian Watkins says, Larry, tell John about her pleading the fifth during the deposition and get his he already left. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry. That would have been a fantastic question for John, but we had so much fun. I lost complete track of time. I can't believe this has only almost been 2 hours, you guys. I can't believe this it feels like I've been here for 5 minutes. When I get into something like this, it's like time just flies. It disappears from me. So I'm sorry for that. I'll ask him next time, or maybe off screen, and let you know what he says. Dwayne Norvell says, Judge will not let them get a depo from Lynette. Yes. Again, bad judicial acts is not enough. Janet Kisner, thank you for the super sticker. Dwayne Norvell says he said he will not make her finish her depo. Yep. Making bad judicial rulings over and over and over. Thank you, Karen Bamberg. Chris T says, if there is already a permanent injunction in place, there isn't. It's a temporary to infinity. It's not permanent. It's a temporary till date unknown. It's not permanent. It's a temporary, we're in limbo. I know it sounds so weird, but in legalese, that's literally what it is. If there's an injunction in place, why is the temporary one being heard? I think I just answered that. Debbie Childers, God bless both of you. That's to me and John, I presume, unless you're including Megan in there. Proud auntie of 2NL. Hey, Larry and John, isn't Jeremy's 8th Amendment right breached too? Too high of a punishment by having a temporary injunction for over 6 months? Well, 3 months, not 6. But yes, we're getting close to another violation. So no protecting himself, George, and own land. Hashtag asking for a friend. That's hilarious. I mean, I know you guys have been asking if we can throw in the 8th Amendment in there. So excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. I mean, are we at the realm of cruel and unusual punishment, chat? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Because he's not really being punished yet. He's just being deprived of his rights. I guess you could lump it into the category of punishment. I mean, chat seems to think so. We're getting there. See, that's what I'm saying, Snoopy. We're getting there. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So I think you guys are on the money. I mean, chat is never wrong. If there's anything I've learned, by the way, if there's anything I've learned from YouTube, is that chat is always right. Chat is never wrong. So is it the 8th? I mean, see, people are saying no, it demeans the 8th Amendment. There's people are saying we're getting there. Some people are saying yes. I disagree. Now, this statement I agree with. Dadston says DUI guy's the best lawyer alive. No, I'm just kidding. I'm tooting my own horn. Yes, it is an unusual punishment, but it's cruel and unusual. Is the judge being cruel? I mean, he's got to protect Lynette. I know it sounds stupid. Like, what kind of protection does she need? Well, the judge doesn't know that. The judge doesn't know that because he hasn't gone through the freaking merits of the case yet. Oh my God, it's such a weird case. Purple Pro says, are magistrates immune like a judge? Depends. It depends on what kind of magistrate they are. Some have qualified immunity, some may have absolute immunity, some may have no immunity at all, depending on which magistrate it is. Larry Simon says, should you be locked up? This is a start to help. Never use the hashtag YesDaddy. Never use the hashtag YesDaddy while in, sent from a friend. My brother, thank you so much. You made me laugh. I think I almost shed a tear from laughing. I was not expecting that. That's freaking hilarious. Debbie Childers, Larry, they have a permanent injunction in Ohio. Yes, against Lynette, not against themselves, obviously. Thomas Sawyer, thank you for the super sticker, and thank you, Cindy, as well. By the way, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime we get new videos like this one up, and join on as a member if you're so inclined. We're about to go through all of our memberships. We have 23.
Let's mute him. You know, what the hell's his Constitution has been violated. Can an appeal court speed it up? I told you, I'm not a lawyer, but since all this heat is on by your people out there and other lawyers, can they put the heat on to appeals court? I would say maybe. No, like I told you, I do not own the rights to the DUI Guys Web YouTube channel. So go to their channel and hit the subscribe bell, thumbs up, share it, and all this. You know, I do share DUI Guys YouTube videos on Twitter. And it's I know it's copyright, but you know, you can share it the way I understand. But like I say, people, I'm not a lawyer. And will I be live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Probably no. You know, I want you to hit the bell on my YouTube channel. And hit the thumbs up, share it. As you know, I'm not a full-time YouTube member. I consider myself a part-time YouTuber because I do not have 1,000 subscribers or 4,000 watch videos. And people who leave comments after I get up, what I do, I read your comment. Then I hit your YouTube channel. And I do subscribe to your channel. That's true, War. People, if you haven't heard, I guess this morning, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Trump's favor. He's on the Colorado ballot, main ballot, in Illinois. It was 9-0. So they all agree. So he's on the ballot for, when is Super Tuesday? Tomorrow or whenever it is. So Trump has won. Because the way I understand it, I watched the Supreme Court hearing. It was on YouTube Live. It was the audio, not the video. And those judges in the U.S. Supreme Court, I got to give those ladies and men a big hand. Let's do it. Let's give them a big hand. When they ask questions to both lawyers and the way they speak, they made it where people like me, it's old or dumb or don't understand. That's how they made me feel. They put it out there where all the people can understand in plain English what they're doing. And I want to thank God for the U.S. Supreme Court, how they ask the questions. You know, I'm not that smart, people. I want to thank you. You know, sometimes people, you tell me stuff, I have to read it, and get it soaked in this little pea brain. You know, you figure I'm 70 plus years old. I got what they call, I had since maybe 30s, 40s, early Alzheimer's, which they called it inherent Alzheimer's. And it just popped up on my cell phone by, okay, I want to show you this coming up. What the hell? Wait for that umbrella guy. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, people. Live with Megan Fox. You know, Megan Fox is a very smart lady. She could have been a lawyer, but she's a reporter. She went to college to be a reporter. She's a very smart lady. She does research. So, make sure you go to the DUI guy, subscribe to his channel. Share the video. You know, on DUI guy, you know, you go down the page a little bit, you can share it. And I know you share it, you know, can I get in trouble for sharing it? Well, when you got the share button on there, I'll say no. People, tomorrow's Tuesday. I have to go to the BMV, Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Pay them $50 some odd to get a sticker put on my tag. You know, but my insurance is all paid up. They take it out of my checking account. All this. So, I want to give a big hand for all you people who have subscribed. You know, the box kite guy and a bunch of others. I got to get my little paper out. You know, Timothy, Tommy, you know, him, and Jerry, and RB. Thank you all. I can't do nothing without your people. And people, please leave comments to help me out on my YouTube channel. You know, give me things to talk about. I've been watching What the Hell's maybe 2 years. DUI guy, maybe a year and a half. I like a good lawyer. I'm glad I've been sober 25 plus years from alcohol and drugs because I couldn't afford them. And, people go back to my YouTube channels. I want you to look it up on a computer. It's a laptop computer. They call it a gaming computer. And because I read that live stream on my laptop. That one in the video is the one everybody recommends. But at Walmart, it's $1,800. I don't have. If I was making money from YouTube, then I'd take that money and buy me a new computer. If I had another bedroom, which I only got 2 bedrooms here, people, I would make it my studio. I would have a desktop computer that had the biggest hard drive you can get and the best graphics card, the best microphone, the best cameras. But I don't have the room, people. I'm sorry. So it's something, it's in the future. If I could hit the lotto, only God would tell me, let me win. I would build on this house. I would go, let me look, I'd go this way, that'd be to the east. I would have to, build on. Well, one thing, if I hit the lotto, I would have to buy me an RV. And a small one, not one of those big gas hogs or diesel hogs. What is that, Class B, Class C, something like that, where you could live in it. Because I would want them to jack this house up, put a basement underneath it. And that way I can make another bedroom downstairs. I would sleep in the basement. Cause if you all got a basement, what the temperature is, it's about 68 degrees year round. I can have another room for a studio. Well, they said on a weather channel it's supposed to be about 67 degrees here tomorrow. It got up to 60-something today. I'll probably go to the outhouse and take my medicine and get my small paintbrush and start painting the door trim. And probably paint some more. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Might not do it. It depends how I feel. Thank you, War. And update news, people. Trump is on the ballot in Colorado, Maine, and Illinois. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled, I say this morning, 9-0. I'm a Democrat, a full-blooded Democrat, but I do not like what the Democrats doing to we the people. They forgot they work for us. And, that's only my opinion. back when I was growing up, before I was able to vote, you know, I don't know when the law came into effect at 18 years old can vote, that the Democrats and Republicans, they worked together. They had a budget that they lived on for a year. I believe it's a year. I could be wrong. Now, the Democrats and the Republicans want to get in a fist fight. That upsets me. You know, people offers them money, like your oil companies, your electric companies, your car manufacturers. That, you know, might get stock. And I'm not gonna broadcast the Umbrella Guy and Megan Fox. If you all want to see the Umbrella Guy, let me show you what that is. See, the Umbrella Guy and Megan Fox. You go to their YouTube channel. Because I've been on here almost 2 hours. So hit the subscribe bell, people. Hit the thumbs up. Also, leave in the comments of anything that you want me to talk about. As long as it's PG, because, you know, the kids are sitting there with their parents. So you got to respect my policy, you know. Keep everything PG. But I know Mr. Larry Foreman said a few things. That's how come I got viewer discretion advised WTSC news for Clark County, Indiana, or any other parts that's close to me. To me, that is news for your people. For we the people. That's news for you. So, you know, I'm letting you all know about it. To me, that is news. That's news about what the hell's and how his First Amendment rights. And you heard Larry talk about, I think, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, you know. Hey, when judges like that acting as a pro se lawyer, it's time to get Judge Craig D. Thomas off of the bench. And also, as What the Hell says, do not contact any of those people that What the Hell's talk about. You heard the judge threaten him. If somebody, a third party, you know, ain't that stupid? Gonna put Jeremy Howes in jail for something that a third party person. Is that legal? You heard it, which that is illegal. You heard the lawyers talk about it. You heard other streamers talking about it. It's illegal. And John, the lawyer, the civil rights lawyer, talk. So make sure you go to John's YouTube channel. I think it's Civil Rights Lawyer or something. I can't forget it. So, you know, think about it, people. Let's get that Judge Craig D. Thomas a-hole off of the bench. And you can go to Florida's, there's a website on court cases. I don't know what it's called in Florida, but you people of Florida, if you leave it in the comments, you know, I will repost it. But I have to write it down to repost it. where you all can go up on Levy County Court and the First District Court, where you can see those cases. So, I hope everybody had a good Monday. I went outside, had all my children out there, giving them kitty cat treats. I still can't get close enough to Midnight. You seen Midnight? That cat is a black and white kitty cat. I don't know if it's a tomcat or a female cat. I can't get that close enough to find out what it is. I'm thinking it might be a tomcat, but I'm not sure. But he's still afraid of me. I had those treats. I had to pitch him over where he could get them. But the other cats watch your hand so close, people. He don't get that much. So, I know there's a bunch of cat lovers. There's animals lovers all over YouTube. I think I've been watching on YouTube, or my son showed me from Facebook, but I think it's YouTube. This little monkey in Korea, China, or somewhere walks like a human and takes care of the baby. If the baby wakes up, that little monkey goes tell mommy or daddy. It's so cute. I'm thinking it's on Facebook, but I will not download Facebook because of First Amendment rights and some of the Supreme Court rulings that they violated and the Congress rules that they have violated. Man, if I went up there, they'd have put me in Facebook jail. So, I want to show you this real quick. This is a prosecutor in Gainesville. I'm not sure, but go to the umbrella guy. Okay, I'm not quick enough, people. So, I want to thank you all. And I also want to thank all the new subscribers. You need to keep up to date on what they going through, where liar Preston is lying so much. Maybe she's sleeping with the judge, but you need proof on that. I don't know how you get proof. My question to you all, I've asked this before, since what the hell's got a permanent protective order against liar Preston and John Crook, that means they cannot have no guns. Why has John Crook got a gun underneath the Jeep Gladiator's seat? And he in violation of the law. But it seems like people, you're getting screwed in Florida. That's the way I'm taking. You hear like John talk. He is from Otters Creek. He's from Levy County. His family owns farms down there in Levy County. What you doing? So, I like watching those lawyer YouTube channels. I get education up here. It'd be nice if Indiana would have lawyers like that to do some YouTube channels. And people that lives in Kentucky, I know you're inmates, man and woman, you're trying to turn your life around. And they trying to get a bill passed to sponge your record. But to me, it's unconstitutional. As the Supreme Court has ruled, if this bill passes in Kentucky, it'll be appealed. Those certain people cannot get their records expunged. In my book, that's a no-no. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that you cannot pick certain people out of the United States or the state. You got to either pick all of them or none of them. But Kentucky's trying to pass this bill on to sponge your record. I know you all trying to change your ways, trying to do good, and trying to be, let me do my thing. The blue light deal for God. You all trying to change. So I want to say God bless you all for trying to change your life. I wasn't a perfect angel growing up with alcohol and drugs. Did I ever get arrested for drugs and alcohol? Knock on wood, people, I never have. I got a few speeding tickets. I've outrun the police officer in my 73 Monte Carlo. They couldn't even get close enough to even get my license number. People say, what did you have in that 73 Monte Carlo? People, remember, back in those days, you could order a police package on your car. That's what I had, all the wire and stuff, but no spark lights, no red lights, no blue lights. That cop picking Monte Carlo would run over 180 miles. I was clocked by a state police trooper at 185. And he wrote me a ticket doing 65 or 70 in a 55-mile zone and got it dropped. And the way we went about it, police officers are supposed to tell the truth. If the lawyers all got him up on the stand, so he was doing 65 in a 55-mile zone. And they're going to say, Trooper so-and-so, wasn't he really doing 185 plus when he was waiting for you? Said, yes, sir. Cops can give you a break, but his commander, the sergeant, the lieutenant, I can't remember who it was, tore the ticket up. It was dismissed. There's another trooper. I'm not going to mention his name. He was a racist cop, a racist trooper. He did not like women being as a state trooper. He didn't like black people being a state trooper. That's how he was. He came to my house back when I was 16 years old. He violated my rights without my parent or legal guardian. Him and the postal inspector. I knew as soon as I heard his name what it was about. He did not like African American people. Only thing I can say is his first name's John, but there's a whole lot of troopers named John. So, I think he retired or passed away, got kicked off. I don't know. It's been too many years ago. He'd be probably 80 or 90 years old now, if he's alive. He said, we was told you was out there on country so-and-so road. What were you doing out there? I said, so-and-so trooper, I was out there with a good-looking black girl doing my thing. Oh, man, you could have heard what he said. And he said, don't touch my door. I open the door. You get out here. I told him, I said, you're violating my rights for not having my parents here to be here while you're questioning. He said, get the blankety blank out of my car. I told him what he wanted to hear. Somebody was knocking mailboxes down. And the people ratted on me, snitch on me. I know who they was. They was out there with young girls. We was all about 16 years old. Something like that. But people, I'm glad I grew up in Charlestown, Indiana. We didn't have racist people. I know some places in the United States, black people had their own bathroom. They had their own drinking fountain. They had their own table to eat lunch at. But the Charleston High School people, it wasn't like it. Thank God it wasn't, because there'd been no telling how I'd turn out. But I have dated a few African-American girls. They were good people. I've told you the story. I went over to meet her mom and brothers. Everything is A-OK except her mom's boyfriend. Didn't like me because I was white. He called me a cracker, this and that. And her mom jumped on his rear end to apologize to him. He has treated my daughter with respect. He got chewed out real bad. He did apologize. And my kids love this woman. She could cook, because you know how it is when you're divorced and you're raising your kids, and they was cook, she could cook some good food. Now you see why I got so fat now. I'm 36 around the waist, probably about 100 and some odd pounds. So I want to say good night. Hit the subscribe bell. Hit the thumbs up. People, if you want to donate, it's Tom Cartwright, 4375 at Post Office Box number 1, Charlestown, Indiana, zip code 47111. If you know the Cash App, you know what you got to do. It's the $. Tom Cartwright, 4375. You can donate that way. If you send any gift cards, put a letter in there what it's for and how much it is, where I can, if it's for my kitty cats, that's okay. Just tell me how much it is. If it's for Walmart or pet supplies or feeder supply or stuff like that, let me know what it's for. If you send a money order, post office or regular money order or a cashier's check, have a letter with it, tell me what it's for. Say this is to help you out on a laptop. I put that into the savings account. Because when a money order or a post office money order or a check. Well, I'll take a check. No, because checks bounces. Plus, it'll give you a bad credit, too, of writing cold checks. You can do a cashier's check, post office money order, a regular check, or you can use the Cash App. Just make sure you put in a letter with it to tell me what it's for. You know, you all can do it. I want to thank the ones it's in the background. And I want you all to recommend in your comments, which I usually check in tomorrow or sometime tomorrow, because well, it must got up to 77 degrees. It said it's going to be 67 tomorrow, and it's 10 degrees cooler tomorrow. Well, it's okay. I got to get my rake and clean the leaves out of the flower beds. Rake them up in the pile. Pick the tree limbs up. Pile them in a stack. Then I have to go back to my metal shed. Take my battery out of my Troy built riding lawnmower and put that on slow charge. I forgot to take my battery out of it and put it inside out of the temperature. You know, so I want to thank you all. I wish there's some VIP people out there that can help me get 1,000 subscribers. I know there's some VIP in the background. I just had a thing pop up, the best laptop in 2024 touchscreen. So, I want to say thank you. Hit the thumbs up, because you're all awesome people. Hit the subscribe bell. As you all know, I only go to Charleston on Fridays to the post office. Why should I drive every day and waste gas? You know, I'm a person that likes to save. So if anybody on here is first-time home buyers, go to my YouTube channel, First-Time Home Buyers. If you need to ask questions, you can do that through the comment. And I tell you, in case, you know, maybe I didn't make any sense or didn't explain it good enough. That's what I did to buy my house. They could have changed some of the rules since I bought my house over 5 years ago. So I want to say, peace, my friends. Aloha.